What's going on, guys? Matt in the Hat, Keller Williams Diamond Partners. You are tuned in to the Hot List. This is episode number 266. Again, I'm your host, Matt Johnson with Keller Williams Realty. In the Hot List, we discuss properties that I or my brokerage have listed for sale, as well as answer a question of the week that is submitted by you, the listener. Just a reminder, I do have a form to submit your questions about real estate. Those are going to be in the details section found below. And please feel free to fill these out and send this to me. I greatly appreciate it because this not only allows me to help you answer your question about real estate, it also gives me content for future episodes just like this one, because if you have that question, the chance that somebody else has that question is high. And what better place and who better to start with than me, to be your real estate resource and get that question answered for you. So today's question of the week actually comes courtesy of a buyer client that I have that we toured a house last week, I believe. And when we were touring the house, we noticed that we actually toured a couple houses. One of them had the attic, or I'm sorry, one of them had the furnace in the attic because it was a 2.5-story house. The other one had it in the attic because it was a slab home, no crawl space or basement. And she asked me, why would it be located in the attic? Well, the one that was just a slab home, that one was pretty simple and straightforward. But the other one, the only thing that I could think at the time was because of the age of the home or maybe convenience. And this actually got me thinking after that appointment, why would that be the case? So I did what I normally do with questions that y'all ask me that I don't necessarily know off the top of my head, started doing some research. And for today's episode, we are going to answer the question, why is the furnace located in the attic? While doing research, I found out that it's not only common to find the furnace located in the attic, but sometimes it might be in the crawl space as well. I've seen this in a number of lake houses that they are in the crawl space area instead of the house or located in the attic. Now, this might seem inconvenient compared to standard locations, and in some ways it might be for some type of maintenance issue, or like filters, or maybe the pilot light goes out if it's a gas furnace versus an electric one. But there are some advantages to having an attic mounted furnace or have it mounted in the crawl space. So today we're going to go through, in order to answer the question, why is it there? We kind of touched on that a little bit, but we're gonna go into some pros and cons of having the furnace stored or installed in the attic versus the main house. The first pro is it's actually pretty straightforward installation. Not every homeowner has a basement. Like I mentioned, the house I showed that had the slab, maybe it's going to take up too much space in a closet or in a garage. Maybe there isn't a garage, and you may not have a closet large enough to store. Maybe you would want to use that for pantry space or just additional storage instead of to store your furnace. Installing this in the attic or crawl space, if available, would clear up some of that storage space. And as most of us know, attics are often left empty And this makes them a good choice for installing the furnace, and of course, frees up some more of that space, reduces some of that noise in there as well. Another pro is a lower cost of installation. Now, a lower cost of installation in general because it's being installed in the attic. One of the reasons is because it can be vented outside a little more easily than either being vented out through the side of a house or run all the way up. And this also requires less duct work because you're just going across the house. You don't have to go clear up the house, so you it can just point down, and that can potentially save you money as well. This is especially true for multi-level homes because they're not going to require as much pipe as a basement furnace to supply heat or exhaust. And that's an advantage because heat is lost through leakage in the air ducts. It's just going to happen whether it's over time or maybe they weren't sealed as well because they're not completely airtight. And with the shorter ducts, they're going to be more efficient and save you money. Number 3 is zoned heating. Now, this is going to be more common around the area that I live here in Kansas because of 2-story or 2.5-story plus homes. There have been occasions while I was doing some research where people were remodeling or expanding their house and expanding upwards. And zoned heating it's exactly what it sounds like. It is a certain zone. So you may have one furnace and AC for your main floor. You may have a second furnace or AC for the second story or upper stories, just because you can get more air with 2 units. You can just have more air flowing through the house than if you just have the one. And this is typically done during some type of remodel or while the house is under construction. The furnace can be added into the attic. Again, does make it a little bit easier for the homeowner to access if needed, and air ducts can be optimized for efficiency. And the final pro is flooding is less of a threat. Now, I did mention earlier that I have seen these in some lake houses. Well, you think that might be not the greatest place because rain, lake, flooding. Well, that could be the case, and not just at a lake house, but if you're in a flood prone area, if the basement floods, furnace could be damaged. Obviously, water damaged furnaces may need certain parts replaced, or the entire thing may need replaced. So installing a furnace above ground, i.e. attic, lessens the chance of flood damage because it's going to be above that flood level. Since we started talking pros, let's get into some of the cons. There is going to be, the first con is going to be the efficiency reduction. And this is going to be because with the furnace installed in the attic, it may lose some efficiency. Remember science class, warm air rises, cool air sinks. That's the principle we're talking here, because heat rises and the furnace is going to have to send hot air down in the wintertime to the lower levels. And so it's going to have to work a little bit harder, maybe even run a little bit longer or more often, as opposed to when a furnace is in the basement. Like I said, warm air naturally rises upwards, which makes it more efficient than it being in the attic. The number 2 con is going to be out of sight, out of mind. Most of the time when your HVAC equipment isn't working properly, there are warning signs and they can be pretty obvious. Maybe you hear some type of noise, squealing sound of some type coming from the furnace or your AC unit. And this can be an indicator of a malfunction, meaning that it could be going out then or going out in the near future. If your furnace is located in the attic, you may not be able to hear those warning signs or sounds that it's making. And of course, if gone on untreated, it can be more expensive, or you could just be without heat and without a furnace until you get it right. And as I'm recording this, it is in Kansas here, it is 23 degrees. So it would not be ideal this time of year to have your furnace go out. Number 3 con, there are going to be more holes in your ceiling. Now, I've already talked about the warm air rising. Attic furnaces require more ceiling duct openings because this is going to help force warm air down and around the house to maintain a comfortable temperature. Because it's going to be less efficient, does require a few more holes or ductwork run to a certain room or certain area and to make the house more comfortable. And the final con is potential ductwork issues. I'm sure we all know attics are one of the warmest places in a house during the summer. No different here in Kansas. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. I wouldn't want to be up there. Because of this, over time, there can be the potential for pinhole leaks or minor tears in the ductwork. And this is caused over time, the heat can create small tears or holes in the ductwork. So if you notice or feel like there is a reduction in cooling power in the summer, it could be the result of these pinholes in the ductwork over time. So now that we have kind of answered all of that, the pros and the cons of a furnace being located in an attic, did I really answer the question? Yeah, I feel like I kind of did. Ultimately, it's going to come down to only a few reasons why a furnace would be located in the attic. There is possibly no basement or crawl space. Could be in a flood-prone area. Lack of space in the house because maybe it's a smaller house. You don't have a garage, crawl space, or basement, so it would make sense to put it up there. Or if it's an older house, you need to create a second zone and have 2 zones in the house to keep it a little more comfortable, not just on the main level, but on the upper levels as well. So ultimately, that is what it's going to come down to, is going to be those reasons. So I hope this helped you go into a little more detail about the pros and cons of, not just why you would do it, but the benefit or advantage of doing it as well. That is going to wrap it up for me for episode 266. Thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. As a reminder, the question of the week submission form is going to be in the details section below. That will give me an email notification as those come in. So make sure you get your question submitted to me. I greatly appreciate answering those and allowing me to use those for future content. Also, just as a kind of selfish reason, make sure that you leave me a review either on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you're listening to this. That helps get in front of me as well. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, share it out, tag somebody that needs to hear this as well. So that is going to wrap it up for me. Again, I'm your host, Matt Johnson with Keller Williams Realty. I do this because your experience matters and should be trusted with the veteran. Y'all have a phenomenal weekend, and I'll see you next week. Take care.